Alright, this is GCO 8 video for worksheet number 1. Again, out comes the spoiler alert sign. This lesson was designed, this worksheet's designed to be kind of an explorations one. And so again, I wouldn't use this video in front of it, but it's certainly good to, if you've already handled this worksheet but you're still confused a little bit, hopefully this will help you out. What takes place in this worksheet is you establish what characteristics, what criteria is the minimal amount to prove or establish two triangles are congruent. And you established side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, or side, angle, angle, HL, and then a special one, angle side 1, side 2, where side 2 is greater than side 1. These are the criteria that establish something to be congruent, triangles to be congruent. The ones that didn't work, certainly things like AA didn't work, SS didn't work, just one angle didn't work. There were a number of the ones that didn't work, but probably the best thing to know that didn't work was two angles, or even three angles for that matter. AAA does not work either. Okay? Now, I think most of these were easy to kind of establish using patty paper and things like that. This is the guy that seems to be a bit curious because this rule. Anyway, so I want to kind of speak to this more specifically and hopefully clarify that a little bit. So the question is, what are the cases of angle side side? So I'm going to go through all the things that could happen if you have first initially an angle, some given angle, and then where side 2 is greater than side 1. Now side 2 refers to the second one away from the angle. So if we were to make side 2 longer like this, okay, angle side 1, side 2, side 2 is greater than side 1. We found when it was this condition of an angle, then a side, and then a side, where side 2 was greater, this was enough to establish congruence. That everyone received the same answer and found them all to be exactly the same, and they were congruent. Now the next thing that could happen with angle side side, this one's kind of a weird one, but when you establish in mathematics the cases, you have to establish them all. So what happens if you have an angle and then a side, and then the second side is just too short, so it doesn't quite close out the triangle? Obviously this is just, it's definitely not congruent, and it's not even a triangle, so it's not even really an issue for us to concern ourselves with. Let's go to another one, where the second side is shorter, but not too short, but it hits it exactly once. Now when would that happen? Well, that would happen if you had a side, again, and you had a length that was just enough that when you swing it, it would come down and just hit exactly right there at 90 degrees. So it is possible where the second side is shorter to come and close the triangle exactly once. This actually is a congruence. If you have an angle and then a side and then a side where exactly it forms a right angle, we will all have the identical triangle. This is known as HL. It gets kind of a unique name there. And the reason it has this name is because it's a right triangle and then you have a hypotenuse known. So that would be our side 1, and our leg would be known. Here that would be our side 2. The last one that's quite important is the tricky one, where angle side 1, side 2, where side 2 is less than side 1, but you get 2 intersections. So you say, well, how do you get 2? So let's show you. Now, if you have it short enough to form ones like this, if it's short enough, it might allow you to actually swing it, and it would also work right here. You might get 2 different triangles possible, because that second side may fit here, but it may also fit over here, form an obtuse triangle, and form this acute triangle. This is a tricky case. I'll show you a demonstration here in a minute. So let me walk through them again. So where it's greater, side 2 is greater, you get a congruence. When it's shorter, you could be too short, no good. You could be just right and hit it just once. Or you might be just short enough to unfortunately hit and make 2 different triangles. And one triangle might look like this, or the other triangle might look like this, with the same information. So obviously this is not a congruence. Let me just switch for a second to the same idea here to kind of talk to you about it. So here are the cases again where you have a side 1 and a side 2. This is a congruence case. This is a one way only to make this triangle. If your measurement is second side shorter, you could be just too short. You could be just right. This is our HL case. Or again, you might have the situation where you might be able to form 2 different triangles, one here and one here. And so this is also not a case of congruence. The only cases of congruence is when side 2 is greater than side 1, or it exactly is a right angle in terms of that. Alright, the last thing I want to do is just show you how we use this information to determine congruence. Let's look at a couple of these. Do we think these are congruent? Let's see what they've given us. 3 sides, 3 same sides. Sure, they're congruent by side, side, side. Let's look at this one. A side, and then an angle, and then a side, and then an angle, then a side. Yes, that's side, angle, side. Let's look at this one. We have, let's see. This isn't side, angle, side because our angle is not between the 2 given sides. It's a right angle with a hypotenuse and a leg. That's known as HL. That is a good one. Let's try another one. Angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. That is also good to go. Let's look at this one. 2 angles and then a side, 2 angles and then a side. That's good. Students often struggle to know, how do you know where to start? And the key is, if you pick a starting spot, to continue the progression, you have to figure out something about the next side or the next angle. So it's okay to go angle, angle, side, because I'm going to the next angle or the next side in this progression. If I was going the other way around, notice I don't know my side and I don't know my next angle. This is like a dead end, so I have to go in the direction that I know that I have angles and sides and things. This one has angle, 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 but that's one of our no answers in terms of that. Let's do one more. Here we have an angle and then 2 sides. and side 2 is greater than side 1, right? Here's our side 1, our side 2. So that's a yes by angle side side where side 2 is greater than side 1. Let me show you one more type of thing. This takes practice and you'll get lots of practice in class. But let's take a look at one more type here. So the question is, are these two triangles congruent? And my answer is, well, let's take a look. Two angles and then a side. So yes, two angles and then the side. And now we have to name them. I'm going to call it DEC, my first one, DEC. Now I have to find the same angles in the other one. So I started with D, that would be like starting with N, and then going to M, and then C. Last one, promise. Now this looks like a no answer because I only have two angles, but I noticed something kind of cool here. This segment is in both triangles, so obviously it's congruent to both triangles. Now I have angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. Ah, that's a yes. Angle, side, angle. And again, I'm going to say DEC, DEC, and the matching would be REC, would be the matching over there.